Good morning to everyone. Welcome to Dharamshala. And I appreciate you have a genuine interest in exploring the concept of mindfulness and spending the time to discuss about it with us. But I have several limitations to make a kind of meaningful presentation because of the vastness of the subject, also my inadequate knowledge of language which we are using for our interaction, and also now there are many new discoveries or new venturing about the mindful, particularly in the field of meditation practice. The Lha organization wrote me a letter a few weeks back about today's discussion, and in this they says that the Buddhist concept of Chaturya Smrta Upassana in Sanskrit, in Tibetan Shava. Shava is a technical term, and it refers a particular path of the Buddhist practitioners who have already entered into a path. The first path is a path of accumulation, we call, among the 5 paths. And then they are to practice 37 different categories of the side of enlightenment. And among the 37, the 4 Smrta Upassana, the Shava, the 4 is among the 37, the first group. And in that, the concept of Smrta Upassana is about 4 different practices with 4 different objectives. In order to realize the 4 Noble Truths in a more detailed and professional way. And this term, Smrta Upassana, can be translated into English. They have many different way of translation it. Mostly people use the mindful establishment, the 4 mindful establishment. Here establishment refers to the perfection of the mind into these 4 practices of mindfulness, when which become a stable, always not fluctuating, become stable That is meant for establishment. There's one set of things in Buddhism about the 4 mindfulness establishment, which is quite technical and which is a thing which are to be practiced by the person who have already entered into the path. But person ordinary who are not into the path yet can also practice the 4 mindfulness as a preparation or preliminary. So that is one way to understand this. The other way, the mindfulness is also referred to a particular technique which is being used when you are practicing the concentrative meditation, the shamatha meditation. Shamatha meditation means you have chosen one object and then practice to stabilize with full attention to one object without any hindrance or disturbance of scatteredness or sinkiness. And for that purpose, a watchful mind is being used, and that is a component of 2 mindsets. The first mindset is called Smrit, Temba. In Tibetan is called Temba and Smrit. That can be translated in English memory or remembrance. Something past and which can be remembered after the thing has already passed. So that is one. And the other set of mind is Shishin. Shishin, called in Sanskrit Sampragyana. Sam refers to rightly or perfectly. Pragyana means knowing it or recognizing it. So these 2 mindset or mental activity is being used when you are practicing the concentrative meditation. You might all know that the meditation, the exercise of mind has 2 categories. One is the concentrative meditation, the other is the analytical meditation. The analytical meditation is a thought process, and the concentrative meditation is away from thought process to reduce all the arising of thought, but at the same time to put the entire mind is to one point to concentrate. When you achieve it, that is called shamatha, and that is ability to concentrate on one object for any length of time, and you have no tiredness in the body, you have no fatigueness in the mind, and your mind concentration is not being disturbed by any scatteredness or sinkiness. When we are meditating the one-pointed meditation, the 2 obstacles, either your mind is going out and thinking some other object and losing the object on which you are meditating. That's called Uddat Gupa. Uddat means scattering, going out. And the other obstacle is when you are concentrating on one object, it appears to be a very concentrative, there's no scatteredness, but it is not able to grasp, to hold the object very clearly and firmly, and there is a looseness and there's sinking, and then it is a kind of dozing off, the mind goes down. So that is jhana. In Sanskrit we call it lay. The lay and udat are the two obstacles of concentrative meditation. While concentrating to one object, to avoid these two different kind of obstacle, you need a watchdog. Whether any scatteredness or sinkiness is coming or not, and that need to be catched by remembrance. Just passing a scattered mind, just a split of second passing, your memory or your remembrance should be able to, or there was a scattering, and at the same time the other mindset is to recognize it is scattering, and I need to avoid this. There's some pragyana. So this two combination of mind is now in the Western world they call it mindfulness. So the Anusmrit and Sampragyana, the combination of these two mental activity is also called mindfulness. And that mindfulness has been adopted or applied in many other ways of meditation. So I don't know, but I heard in the Western academic field and also meditation centers, there are courses of mindfulness which can reduce stress, which can reduce depression, or which can help the people. And that mindfulness is not exactly the actual translation of what the Buddhist canon is calling the four mindful establishments. So we have to differentiate the many. And in the field of now, for the last a decade or more, few decades perhaps, a course which is called social emotional studies or social emotional learning or social emotional and ethical learning, so on and so forth. The His Holiness teaching about the secular ethics. There's also the secular word is not very pleasant to the Western people, so they converted to universal ethics or social emotional ethics learning. In the social emotional ethics learning process, the mindfulness is just referring to a mindset which is similarly to watch the emotions. And if you are mindful, you will able to catch the different emotions on time, without much delay. If you are not mindful, then you may not be able to catch the arising of the negative or positive emotions. If you are not able to catch or recognize the arising of negative emotion, when it becomes full growth, then you may not be able to encounter it. So therefore, you must be mindful to watch the emotion. And His Holiness has termed it mapping of emotions. Just like road map, when your emotions comes up, that need to be catched or take care of. And the same theme is being used by Jiddu Krishnamurti. He is not talking about meditation, or he is not talking about any practice, but he is talking about how to deal with the conditioning of human mind. And he is using the term observation and awareness. And to my understanding, he is using the observation for the memory, and the awareness he is using for the recognition, the sampragyana, doshi. So there is also important to have anyone, either someone is meditating or someone is not meditating, the awareness and the observation is the key to keep one's mind free from scattering or going into the negative emotional forces. So that is also can be called mindfulness. Then Acharya Thich Tham's teaching, he is talking about mindfulness to everything. Mindful while working, mindful while eating, mindful while talking. So his teaching of working meditation, talking meditation, eating meditation, and either you are talking on telephone, you must continue your mindful meditation, and each word you are speaking must be recognized, aware, and wait, and then utter the word. So that is also a way to referring to the mindfulness. So these are different ways how the word mindfulness is being used in today's world. Then also the Burmese tradition of meditation of Vipassana. Vipassana is actually the name of analytical meditation, but the Goenka's tradition of practicing Vipassana, the practice of concentration is kept late, behind, and the practice of analytical meditation is due first. In that case also, they do it quite similar with the Nalanda tradition or Pajaparamita tradition, the 4 establishment of mindfulness. The 4 establishment of mindfulness is first establishment mindful of the body, and second establishment mindful of the feeling, and the third the establishment of mindful of the mind, and the fourth the establishment of mindfulness of phenomenon. So this is the 4 establishment of mindfulness. So Goenka's tradition of Vipassana, they use the establishment of mindfulness of body and the feeling, these two, not the mind and phenomenon, but these two are very much used in their practice of meditation. And many people feel that this is very easy and useful for beginning practitioners. So these are some different way of using the word mindfulness, and the different traditions, how they interpret it differently, just for your general knowledge. Now coming back to talk about what is exactly mindfulness, which is being talked about in Buddhist canon in the process of practicing the shamatha and vipassana meditation. Here, as I mentioned before, what is the state of human conditioned mind? How to make it unconditioned? These two different stages we need to understand. The entire human problem is a result of a creation of our mental defaultments or mental afflictions. Unpure mind creates all these problems. So, to eradicate human misery or to eradicate all kind of problems, to deal with different problems will not able to reduce or eradicate the problems. The cause of problem is mind. So to purify or to decondition the mind is the real method to solve the problem. That is Buddhist viewpoint. The Buddha's first teaching is the framework of entire Buddhism. Buddha have taught for more than 40 years, about 41 years after his enlightenment in central India, and each day he gave sermons and teachings. So the amount of Buddha's words are so numerous. We usually call it 84,000 hips of Dharma or 84,000 volumes of Dharma. All these teachings are around the basic teaching of Four Noble Truth. The Four Noble Truth is the first, the truth of suffering, and the second is the truth of cause of suffering, and the third truth is the cessation of suffering, and the fourth is the path to achieve the cessation of suffering. A diseased person who is suffering from some serious disease, the first he or she should know what is the disease. The disease needs to be recognized. Diagnose is the first thing. Then the second thing, if you wish to cure from the disease, you have to understand what is the cause of the disease. Treatment of disease are two kinds: eradicating the cause of disease or just subsiding the symptoms of disease. Many of the allopathic medicines are symptom treatment, just pain killing or something like that. They postpone the disease, but it does not cure the disease. So therefore, if you need to cure the disease, you shall have to recognize the cause of disease. And when you recognize the cause of disease, then you shall have to find out what is the antidote of that cause. What kind of medicine can reduce or eliminate the cause of disease? Then the cure is sure. So Buddha says the world is suffering from so many kind of unhappiness, pain, discomfort, wanting. And what is the root cause of this suffering? And the root cause of suffering is the negative karmic force. The negative karmic force, negative action, it comes from negative mindset, because our mindset is completely conditioned by unrealistic thoughts, and by unrealistic thought causes the mental developments, and unless and until you eradicate the mental developments, you will not be able to eradicate the suffering. And since mental developments come out of ignorance, ignorance can be eradicated by the wisdom, which is knowing. And wisdom is possible to achieve, to see the real state of the entire phenomenon, and thereby you can eradicate the cause of suffering, and you can achieve the cessation of suffering. So this is a nutshell teaching of Buddha. And therefore the entire Buddhist Dharma practice is around how to decondition the mind, how to purify the mind, how to train the mind. Is always go around the purification, development, and deconditioning, or saying the things as it is. These are the Dharma practices. In this process of Dharma practice, there are two stages. The first stage is how to reduce, how to make less forceful, how to make a short duration, and how to make weak of all the negative emotions. And then thereafter, the second stage is not to reduce, but completely eradicate from its source. So thereby no suffering, no misery can be caused. So both of these two stages in the process of mental training, the mindfulness is essential. Now I am using the mindfulness, this expression, two combination of a mindset. it is little difficult to communicate with the people who are not acquainted with the Buddhist mental science, because the Buddhist mental science analyzes the mindset in a very detailed one. The gross mind, the subtle mind, and the subtlest mind. And at the level of gross mind, also the basic mind and the activities of the mind. We call in Sanskrit Chit and Chetasik, Simla Sinjung. And the Chetasik includes the cognitive mind, thought forces, imaginations, memories, emotions. All these are included in the mental facets or mental activities. And according to the Abhidhamma, there are at least 52 differences of mental facets, different mental facets. So among the 52, I am referring only to the memory and the recognition. Shijin is recognition and Temba is memory. So these two mindset is working together, putting together, we call it mindfulness or awareness. Awareness and mindfulness is not much difference. So what is the function of this mindfulness? Is to be alert and to be watchful. One of my friends used a new word, awakening. He wrote a book, Always Awakening. So we are not able to keep always awakening, always alert. Therefore, all the mental functions, either it is positive emotion or negative emotion or thought process, we realize going to such a negative way or such a positive way or such a mindless way without it. We recognize very, very after a long time. If you are under the influence of anger, you do not recognize the anger. You are not aware of the anger. You only act what the anger is directing to act you. You may shout or you may use unpleasant words or even you may fight physically. But you are not aware, my mind is under the influence of anger. And does this anger is based on real things or it is based on imaginations or my own mental projections. I forgot the name. His Holiness always refers to him, a very old psychiatric healer in America. He is 80 plus, and he did the treatment, psychiatric treatment, for many number of years. Thousands of patients have been treated, and he, according to his experience, he tells to His Holiness that when you are anger to some particular person and you see so many negative things to that person. He did that, and he is so bad, all these bad qualities. Then he says, when we examine them, more than 75% of all these defects the angry person seeing to the object of anger are not existing in reality. Only 25% might be exist there. The rest of things are all the angry person's mental projection or imagination. They are not based on truth or on the reality. So mind is so conditioned and we are not able to realize the things without any distortion, without any exaggeration or decreasing something always the. So the mindfulness work is just to watch not the external things, just to keep continuous watch to the internal mind process. If you do practice this, then you will achieve at some level that whatever mindset arises in your mind, at the moment of arising, you will be able to recognize it. This is anger, this is greed, this is envy, or this is love, this is compassion. So you are able to recognize whatever is arising in your mind. So therefore, in time, you are able to take what action is required. If it is a negative emotion, then you just slow down, analyze, and try to avoid that negative emotion. If it is a positive emotion, you can sit and try to develop it, cultivate it more deeply, and make it more permanent in your mind. So this is the how the temple shishin, the memory and the recognition mind combined as the mindfulness or the awareness in the terms of K. If you have such awareness, your negative emotions will not lead you immediate action. That is a great benefit. If you recognize you are under the influence of anger, that mindfulness will tell you you are under anger. Therefore, you may not utter any word or you may not do any negative action immediately. You have a space or time to analyze it, whether you are thinking or your emotions are right or wrong. So thereby, slowly and slowly, you will be able to cultivate the mind into the positive way and reduce the negative emotions slowly and slowly. So now coming back to the Obsthana, first is the object of this mindfulness practice is the body, and the second is the feeling. The body and the feeling is very easy to practicing or cultivating the power of mindfulness. When I talk of body, the body are the outer body, inner body, and the outer inner both body. We differentiate this. Or in an easier way, the gross body, the subtle body, and the subtlest body. We have 3 layers of body. And at most time, our mind is not aware of the body. Body acts sometimes involuntarily. The involuntary body movements are mostly goes unawarely. But your subtle mind is related to that involuntary actions also, but you are not aware of that. So not aware of the entire body, your life or your mindset is very limited, partial. So therefore, among the body component, the breath, we call it the wind or the ear, the gross is very visible because it has its existence. Also, it's combined with feeling. So the Vipassana meditation for the first 2-3 days to concentrate on the breathing. When you breathe out, you look to the wind going out, and also the going out of the wind, there is a feeling to your nostril. The feeling, the body of the nostril, the body of the breath, all these 3 are part of body and feeling, and you are concentrating both. The wind is going out. It has created feeling to the nostril, and it has a movement. So you concentrate on that, and the concentration always disturbed by thought process or scattered mind. So that's coming back, and mindfulness is being practiced to that. Then thereafter, the concentration to the body and feeling are they two combined. Then you try to make a feel of, concentrate the feeling of your body, a particular part. What feeling you are experiencing on the head, neck, shoulders, slowly go down to the toe and then come back. So wherever is the feeling, you just concentrate on that feeling. After 4-5 days rigorous practice to this, then you will achieve an ability to feel all the feelings wherever a body has. And the entire body has a general feeling. You cannot feel any part of your body. The feeling is always there. Since your body is part of you, your mind is being honor of that body. Whichever part you have a feeling, that feeling must be acknowledged and recognized by the mind. by the inner subtle mind. So then you are able to feel the entire body and the entire feeling all the time. You achieved a quite powerful mindfulness. That mindfulness is good for your health care. And in English there's another word, sensitivity. The wrestlers or the boxing fighter or weightlifting, this kind of gross physical activists, they lose the sensitiveness of the body because they intentionally make it insensitive in order to employ the body in a more gross way. If they hurt somewhere, they may not recognize the hurt. So that kind of insensitive might ignore any disease in the preliminary stage. If you are trained in the mindfulness and you are very sensitive to your body and feeling, and you will feel something different wherever a disease comes. Any magnitude or any cancer is started somewhere, and usually the ordinary person who are not trained into the mindfulness to the body may not feel. He or she can only feel when it gives pain, forceful pain. And at that time the doctors will say it's too late and it's second stage or third stage. So if you are sensitive enough to your body, then you may recognize whatever discomfort or whatever disease is slightest of fever, you will recognize. A slightest of headache or close of nose, you will immediately recognize. So that kind of practice of mindfulness to body and feeling makes you very sensitive, and also it might increase the immune system of your body, and it may reduce the mental faculties to be depressed or to become tension or anxiety. So that is the immediate benefit of practicing the mindfulness. Then the third stage is practicing the mindfulness to the mind, to the thought process. That is difficult to practice. It may take much more time. The body and feeling, you may have a good practice and good cultivation in 1 or 2 months practice, regular practice. Any practice gives you result when you keep it regular. If you do it irregular, then there may not be any progress. Any practice needs to be patient and regularity. Today in the modern world, everybody looks for immediate result and also not much patience. And you do practice of meditation or anything for 8 hours, 9 hours, for a few days, and then you see not much result, then you give up, then there's the no practice for several days, then again come back, so which makes not much progress in your practice. To watch the mind is much difference to watch the body and feeling. Because the body and feeling is being watched by your mind, and it is a clear differentiation, the mind and body. Your mind is not your mind, your mind is not your body, and your mind is a looker, and your body can be looked as a separate object, and feelings also similarly. And to watch the mind by mind, the object and the watcher both are same, and you have to make a intentional division. This portion of mind is to be watched, and only the part of mindfulness, the memory and the recognition, cognitive mind, these two separate from the mind, thought process, and the vast mind. It may take years together to have a good practice. So that is the deeper meditation among the four establishments. And at that moment, to watch the mind and to correct mind, these are two different functions. In the beginning of mindful practice, they only watch, not correct. The watch arising this kind of thought, positive thought, negative thought, positive emotion, negative emotion, recognize it and just let it go. So at this moment, at this stage of Smith Prasthana of Chitta, of the mind, is very similar with the Mahamudra meditation in the Buddhism, the Mahamudra meditation. All the four different Tibetan traditions, they have their own different ways of Mahamudra meditation. And also very near to the Dzogchen meditation, which is to see the face of the subtle mind. If you recognize the face of the subtle mind, you are almost free. And that is a very shortcut to get enlightenment. But these are very high level practice of meditation. Just to meditate mindfulness on the mind is, in ordinary terms, we may say this is the real method to decondition the mind or to reduce all kind of negative emotions. When you are sensitive, you are mindful to your mind, then the arising of negative mind will slowly reduce, and its force will become much weaker, and thereby you can have a very purified and positive mind all the times. When your mind is positive and purified, your vocal and your body actions will not be negative. So all these are being controlled by the mind and thought process. So mind has, as I mentioned before, so many facets and different ways of functioning. For the ordinary person, we must recognize two different mindsets. One is perceiving mind and the other is conceiving mind. These are two very basic different categories of mind. Perceiving mind means touching directly, meeting directly with the reality. Eye consciousness sees blue color. Blue color exists there. And my eye organ has no defect. And my eye consciousness is awake, active. Then comes blue color before my eye, and its color reflects to my eye organ, in medical terms, retina or something like that. We call it Nang ki surjyan taon. It's something very subtle, but it is some form and reflect to this. And then my eye consciousness sees it, the blue, that is real blue outside there. And my mind directly sees it. But eye consciousness do not judge anything. The eye consciousness doesn't know it is a color or it is named as a blue. And also eye consciousness doesn't say it is beautiful or it is ugly. Nothing. What is just reflected to the eye consciousness. Then you shut your eye. The contact is ceased. You are no more with the blue and your eye consciousness stopped there. But at the same time, the eye consciousness seeing the blue sent a photo copy or an image to your thought. And your thought carries the blue inside. And the thought knows after your eyes closed, the thought has an image of blue. And that is not blue, but it is only thought projection. And the blue is past, but your image in the thought is still continuing. And then the thought, this name is blue, it is very bright or it is very dull, it is beautiful, it is ugly, and it is beautiful, I must own it, it is ugly, I must discard it. So many things goes, that is conceiving mind. All problems are arising at the level of conceiving mind. The perceiving mind, you see, you hear, you smell, you touch, you taste, all these are conceive, whatever is, you see it, you hear it, that is reality. And when it sends message to the thought, and thought is analyzing and putting many things, many judgments and many qualities, disqualities adding to it. So that is the conceiving mind. So therefore, the Buddhist people say, when you achieve a Buddha nature, you become Buddha, there's no thought. There's only conceiving mind. Everything sees as reality, and no mind's part is dealing with the image. So that's a different issue. So all the divisions and the conflicts are being started at the level of conceiving mind. So the mindfulness is necessary to watch the conceiving mind. It is not necessary to watch the perceiving mind. Perceiving mind as it is okay. There's no problem. The conceiving mind is the root of all kind of problem, division, me, ego, me, my, and the others and theirs. All these divisions are come at the level of conceiving mind. So if you differentiate the mind, the conceiving mind as dealing with the objects directly, and then perceiving mind with thought, and the perceiving mind is to be watched and to be trained, to be cultivated. So that is the major function of the mindfulness. Then the fourth is mindfulness of phenomenon that we ordinary people may not be able to practice, but for a spiritual practitioner, that is the final stage of mindfulness practice. And then the phenomenon means the entire universe, all the existence which appears to us. It is impermanent, it is a composite thing, it is contaminated by karma and klesha, so on and so forth, to see the real nature of existence of the world and how to get freedom from the bondage by the karma and klesha to this entire phenomenon. Time so quick. Now I have already consumed the time allotted for me, so I will stop talking here, and if there is any comment or discussion or question, you are welcome. So these are the basic, what I should say, very, very preliminary introduction of the Anusmit Obsthana, the Temple Shavashi, and which is being differently used and translated by many meditation practitioners or in the modern educational or social emotional learning courses has used or misused, whatever it may be. So this is a rough account of that. Thank you. Yes.
So Tibetan Buddhism is being taught in the West for many years now.
Right.
From your teaching today, it sounds like it had to change to fit the Western mind, or that it has changed and been taught differently to fit the Western mind. So I wonder how you see those changes as being a good thing or a bad thing, because now everyone, you describe different ways that it's being taught by many different people in the West. And I wonder how you see that as a good thing or a bad thing.
I see it a very good thing. I'm only talking about how the different approaches and different ways to approaching it. Basically, if you look the Buddha's teaching, Buddha was never consistent. He taught differently to different listeners. And he knows what kind of teaching will suit to what kind of listener. So if someone read the entire Buddha's canon, he or she might be very confused. Sometimes Buddha says this, or sometimes Buddha says different. Sometimes Buddha says, because in the Buddhism, the four basic philosophical schools, they are almost contradicting each other, opposite things. But all of them are referring to Buddha's words. And Buddha, using his skillful method to elevate the listener to the spiritually highest level through the possible capacity, liking, disliking of the listener, and then step by step goes higher and higher. And when it goes higher and higher, the lower things have become stepping stone, and he leaves there and takes another. So therefore, someone has interest in the Buddha's teaching, and with one's own understanding, make it suitable for contemporary people whose mindset is quite different from the traditional mind. And for them, only traditional teaching may not be able to benefit them. They may not be interested. So therefore His Holiness is also talking about a secular ethics. Ethics is pure Buddhist teaching, but he finds it inadequate, the Buddhist way of ethic teaching. Then he goes beyond the religion and he talks about the secular ethics and so on and so forth. That is due to the people to whom he was addressing. So not only the Western people, as I mentioned, the Burmese Buddhist tradition, in the traditional way of teaching, the Vipassana or Shamatha cannot make in a 10 days course. It is lifelong teaching and lifelong practice. But looking to the modern people's condition, he make it a package deal in 10 days course, and which benefit to a normal people. And he was not teaching a Buddhism, but teaching a technique which is coming from the Buddhism. So that's why His Holiness always divide the Buddha's canon, the subject of Buddhist canon, into three categories: the Buddhist science, Buddhist philosophy, and Buddhist dharma. Then he says Buddhist dharma is Buddhist property. No Buddhist has nothing to do with it. It has our own copyright. But Buddhist science and Buddhist philosophy is open to all. It does not deal with the dharma. You need not to take refugee or you need to enter into Buddhism, but you use whatever the Buddha taught about science and about. So therefore, the dialogue with Buddhist science and modern science has achieved a tremendous result, and I look forward in the future. There might be many new avenues might open up in the field of modern science and technology from the Buddhist science of mind and also science of phenomena. So whatever method or whatever good technique developed by the scholars and by the knowing people, and I always appreciate this one. But we should have the understanding what the basic teaching is and how the modern techniques are developed around it. So the basic principle should not be contradicted. That is, for example, Buddha says there may be so many different schools, but I put 4 boundaries. If these 4 boundaries are crossed, then the principle or the concept will not be termed as a Buddhist philosophy. So the 4 boundaries are all the composite things are impermanent. Impermanent principle is 1. And all the contaminated things are suffering. The suffering principle is 1. And all the phenomenon does not have any essence or soul or its own existence. All come up interdependently. The nirvana alone is the peace. There's no other peace without nirvana. So these 4 are the boundaries of Buddhist philosophy. So within that boundary, the philosophies can be different. So similarly, for example, mindfulness teaching is basically how to increase your sensitivity in order to purify and train your mind. So mindfulness technique is used for negative things, how you will become more cunning and how you can deceive the other people, or how you can increase your production or sales. Then I think it is not good. As long as it is used for the purification of mind and a positive object is there, you can develop many different kind of methods. That's perfectly okay. Any other comments? Yeah.
So the idea of self-hatred is more common in the West. Is it, I think, maybe unique to the West. And now there's a big movement to teach self-compassion. And now there are conferences all over in the West, and many people who study mindfulness are studying self-compassion and teaching self-compassion. And I wonder about your thoughts about that.
I do not know much about the new method of self-compassion. From the Buddhist viewpoint, the first thing is equality, and the second thing is the others are more important than the self. So this samatā svapa dashanyamba, the self and the other, all these sentient means we are not talking about the humankind. The Buddha is talking about the entire sentient being. The entire sentient beings are equal on the three basic grounds. The first ground is the entire sentient beings are similar and equal, desiring happiness and not desiring unhappiness, not desiring misery. That's one. And the other is all the sentient beings do have equal rights. Rights to pursuing happiness, right to eliminating or avoiding unhappiness. The right is all equal. And the third is the potential. All the sentient beings, maybe smallest insect or the elephant, they have basic potential to achieve cessation of misery, avoiding unhappiness and achieving happiness. May not be in that particular life, but life after life, we see or we accept the continuity of consciousness. The subtlest consciousness does not have any beginning and does not have an end. Therefore, if you end this life, your subtle consciousness goes in the next life. So thereby, each one has the potential. So on this ground, everyone is equal. Since everyone is equal, then self is more important than the others more important. Self is one, the others are countless. So therefore, the countless number of the group naturally carries more importance. So therefore, the self-interest is harming or benefiting to one, and the other's interest, it may harm and benefit to many people. So therefore, the individual and society, in the social sentence terms, the tradition always says individual must be sacrificed for the benefit or for the sake of society. A person should person's interest should be sacrificed for the interest of the family, or the family's interest should be sacrificed if it doesn't go with the interest of the village and the town, the nation, and so on and so forth. So this is this point of view. And now the modernity has reversed. Self is more important than the society. And the modernity, modern so-called civilization, has reversed many things. The right and duty. In the tradition, duty is more important, and if you perform your duty, right is automatically comes as a result of that. But in the modernity, the right is giving more importance and duty is being neglected. So no one talk about the responsibility. Only His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, is talking about the universal responsibility. Now it is taken by the younger generation quite seriously. So similarly, the cooperation and the competition. In the ancient time, all people are interdependent, and any bigger object can be achieved by cooperation. Now today cooperation is being neglected and competition is being increased. There are many, so I'm not going to in the details. So self-pity or self-compassion, these are sometimes a little tricky, how you differentiate the self-compassion from the self-pity or self-interest. So that is a little precaution needs to be taken. Otherwise, it is compassion, then of course self cannot be excluded from the object of compassion. Compassion, loving kindness means choiceless. If there is a choice, then that is not compassion, that is attachment. If your compassion goes to few of the dears and nears and it is not pervasive to all sentient beings, then that is not compassion. So similarly, self-compassion is also, when comes the other objects, it may able to enlarge to every sentient being in the same way, but you are comfortable with self-compassion, and that self-compassion cannot be applicable to all the sentient beings, then that is not compassion. Compassion means choiceless.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.